In the charming town of Woodridge, Illinois, a dedicated young mother is successfully balancing motherhood, her studies, and her career. Determined to build a brighter future for herself and her family, her life is finally coming together. Just as her hard work begins paying off, tragedy strikes, and her detectives are determined to uncover what has happened. What happens when love becomes fatal? This is a Fatal Attraction podcast with Enraged by Envy.
October 19th, 2015. It's a quiet Monday in Woodridge, Illinois, a small suburb on the western edge of Chicago.
Woodridge is a community a little more than 20 miles outside the city of Chicago.
It is far enough away that it's not impacted by the major crime incidents that happen in Chicago.
But today, one family is afraid crime may have struck their peaceful neighborhood.
The Dickey family is worried because they haven't heard from their sister, Cecily Dickey.
Cecily hadn't responded to phone calls or texts, so the family became concerned.
She was a single mom, and her daughter was staying with her parents that weekend, so it was really unlike her to be out of touch.
They were alarmed to the point where they showed up at Cecily's apartment.
Cecily, open up.
But she's not home.
They find the door locked. There's no answer of anyone inside.
Cecily, open up. It's Cadero.
After knocking and trying to get into Cecily's apartment, they had to reach out to the maintenance man and convince him to let them into her apartment.
It's right up here. This is her apartment right here. She's not answering.
And once inside, their worst fears are realized.
Thank you. Oh my God,
In the kitchen, they see their baby sister lying in a pool of blood.
Look. 26-year-old Cecily Dickey had always wanted to make her mark on the world.
She really did have a love for life and a great spirit about her.
Her family and friends would describe her as hardworking, determined.
Even in the face of adversity.
She had her daughter in high school.
She felt like a child herself, and then to have a child, to have this responsibility placed in your lap, it can be a lot.
She was focused on making sure that her and her child were taken care of no matter what was happening.
However, the child's father didn't feel the same way.
He wasn't ready for the responsibility of a child.
She said, okay, I'm still gonna raise this child with or without you.
With the help of her supportive family, Cecily was still able to pursue her dreams.
Women in that situation can choose what to do with this predicament. You can choose to say, this is it, this is all I can amount to, or use it to say, this is a responsibility, but I can still make something out of my life.
Cecily was determined to do the best she could with the hand she was dealt for herself and her daughter.
She was taking childhood education courses and business courses to one day open her own daycare center.
While she was in school, she was also working full-time at a call center, trying to save up enough money to get her own place.
But with each step forward, Cecily still felt that something was missing.
She wanted a partner, someone to help her take on life's challenges.
She decided to jump back in the dating pool.
That's when she met Malcolm Sanders.
He was handsome and charming, and he embraced the fact that she had a baby.
The couple dated for 8 years, but over time, they drifted apart.
Malcolm was traveling a lot, working. He was not around as much. This was becoming a growing sense of frustration.
As time went on, their relationship kind of fizzled out and they decided to go their own ways.
For Cecily, the breakup was discouraging.
She felt she was getting her life on track, and then just to have it all taken away from her, it made it all the more hard for her.
Cecily wasn't sure if she would ever find love.
But then in the spring of 2015, she got an unexpected call from an old friend, a man named London Luckett.
Well, hello, stranger.
London had a relationship with Cecily's family that went back over 10 years.
She first met him back in high school.
They'd gotten pretty close over the years, ran in the same circles, but they had never really dated.
And when London graduated, their lives went in separate directions.
He moved to Indiana and Cecily had her baby, so they'd lost touch.
But when London returned to the Chicago area, the first thing he did was call Cecily.
It's great to hear your voice again.
It's good to hear yours too.
He had invited Cecily to get lunch and catch up, and she jumped at the chance.
Man, you ain't changed a bit.
I can say the same thing about you.
They had so much history and so much to talk about.
You know I always had a thing for you, even back in the day.
I wish you would have said something sooner.
Me too.
He hadn't quite figured out his own circumstances, but there's no doubt that in London's mind, he envisioned building a life with Cecily.
He was someone that she could build that happily ever after and a forever with.
And by the fall of 2015, Cecily had a new man and a new apartment.
She decided to move to Woodridge for that more quiet place to live.
Renting this new apartment was a new lease on life for her.
I think this is the last of it.
Well, this should leave plenty of space for your things.
For Cecily, life is good. Her new boyfriend is hopefully gonna move in, and they're gonna really start to build this family that she's always dreamed of.
But instead, Cecily's new apartment has become a crime scene.
Was one of the most gruesome scenes you could imagine.
It's unfortunate that her loved ones had to make that discovery.
With Cecily's siblings in shock, the maintenance worker dials 911.
Are they alive?
As soon as he bent down and touched her body, he knew it's too late.
She's dead? Yeah. Police and paramedics are both on the way.
First responders quickly arrive on the scene and confirm what the maintenance worker told dispatch.
She was immediately pronounced dead.
But what's even more shocking is the way she was killed.
This was particularly bloody and gruesome crime scene.
Cecily was stabbed to death, but the thing that stood out most was where she was stabbed.
There was a butcher knife protruding from her groin area.
Detectives continue to investigate to determine what transpired that night and what happened to Cecily Dickey. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
"26-year-old single mother Cecily Dickey was successfully creating a great life for herself and her daughter.
Cecily was making strides. She was taking classes to help advance her career. She was working full-time.
She got a new apartment. Life is good.
She had also recently fallen in love with an old friend from high school named London Luckett.
He was a really great father figure to her child.
It's because of this big helper we got right here.
He became somebody that she could see growing into a marriage possibly with.
But now, the 26-year-old mother has been found stabbed to death in her apartment.
It was a grisly crime scene.
Cecily was found in a posed position in the kitchen.
When Woodridge homicide detectives enter the apartment, it's unlike anything they've seen before.
We had Cecily's body, her legs spread out, numerous and obvious stab wounds to her chest and body area. defensive wounds to her hands, and you had the butcher knife inside her sex organ.
On top of more than 20 stab wounds, Cecily's killer had also strangled her.
She had bruising and indications of trauma at the neck.
However, the brutality of Cecily's murder also gives detectives their first clue.
The location of where the knife was left, it was clear that this was somebody who was vengeful.
Something of that nature. It's usually going to be personal. It's going to be somebody that had a relationship with them.
A search of the apartment appears to support detectives' theory.
There was no sign of forced entry. This was not a random break-in.
The person that murdered Cecily, she had let them into the apartment herself.
And whoever it was had also robbed her.
Her purse, wallet, cell phone, and car were all missing.
They also discover signs that the perpetrator had tried to conceal their crime.
So it was clear that there was a combination of blood spatter and blood from Cecily, as well as a cleaning product that had been sloppily used across the carpeted area of the crime scene.
There was obviously some intent to cover their tracks.
Fortunately, they didn't do a very good job.
A latent print was found on one of the Clorox bottles.
They also recovered skin cells from underneath Cecily's fingernails that probably belonged to whoever did this.
And judging by Cecily's body, she had been killed sometime over the weekend.
She was in an advanced state of rigor mortis.
She had been dead for over 24 hours at that point.
Which means there's no time to waste.
At that point, the investigation immediately kicked into gear.
Detectives file requests for Cecily's phone and bank records, as well as issue an APB for her stolen vehicle.
Obviously, local law enforcement is going to be super vigilant looking for that car.
Back at the station, detectives' first priority is sitting down with their victim's siblings.
Cordero and Kristen had both been brought to the station after first responders arrived and pronounced Cecily dead.
Having the family, they're able to give us some type of insights into what she was most recently involved in. Did she have some people that had some animosity toward her that they know of?
They begin with Cecily's sister, Kristen.
They had a pretty good relationship, and they stayed in pretty good contact with each other.
I don't want to keep you here very long. Obviously, you've got a lot to be dealing with right now.
Kristen says that the reason for going to her apartment was because they haven't heard from her in several days.
The last time Cecily had been seen was Friday.
Hoping to pinpoint a potential suspect, detectives ask Kristen about her sister's personal relationships.
In crimes of this nature, you're going to initially look at people that had some type of intimate relationships.
Is there any young man that's involved in her life? Friends, close friends?
Only two people, like men-wise, she talks to is obviously London.
She said London Luckett was her sister's boyfriend, and they had been dating for the last few months.
Those two, they really hit off.
He was the father figure, the nurturer, the provider, everything that her little sister needed.
London was amazing. You know what I mean? He was super nice to everybody. He was the guy of her dreams.
And according to Kristen, the young couple was getting serious.
So the plan was then for Cecily and London to pool their money together and live happily ever after.
Yeah.
And London was all for that?
Yeah, he was excited. He was so excited.
Of course, if detectives were thinking this crime was committed by one of Cecily's romantic partners, that put London right in their crosshairs.
But Kristen insists she doesn't think he could be responsible for her sister's murder.
She thinks Lawton had nothing to do with it.
However, Kristen says there is one person who may have wanted Cecily dead.
She was still seeing her ex, Malcolm.
She said London and Malcolm had both been vying for her affection, and Malcolm was losing.
This love triangle put her in a very dangerous situation.
He does have like the potential to snap.
The suspense, the secrets, and the deceit. Stay with us as we unravel the truth on the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
After finding her sister, 26-year-old Cecily Dickey brutally stabbed in her home, Kristen Dickey has just told detectives about the two men involved in her sister's life, Malcolm Sanders and London Luckett.
Over the past several months, Cecily had been seeing both men at the same time.
Her relationship with London had taken off, but Malcolm refused to move on.
She really ended it with him, but like they still talk and they still like have sex.
Cecily, I think, felt torn between these men.
Although Kristen insists that in her heart, Cecily knew which man she wanted to be with.
She wanted to be with London.
He was who her sister loved. On the other hand, Kristen thought Malcolm was nothing but trouble.
He would cheat, he would, just not a good boyfriend for her.
According to Kristen, he'd even gotten Cecily in trouble with the law.
He was doing credit card scams on her sister's computer, which made her become a target.
An investigation did ensue that resulted in Cecily being charged.
Even though Cecily had nothing to do with it, her sister says Malcolm's illegal activity meant she was facing jail time.
Are we talking a couple of bogus eBay orders, or are we talking hundreds of thousands of dollars at credit card fraud?
I don't know, I just know the bond was $5,000.
Malcolm had promised to pay her bond so she could turn herself in and deal with the charges and not have to sit and wait in jail.
While Cecily waited for the money, she kept the relationship going.
That was like one of the other reasons she didn't want to, yeah.
She felt obligated to him because she needed his financial contributions.
But no one was happy with the situation.
Kristen told investigators that the two men were aware of each other and neither one of them liked it at all.
Cecily's communications with Malcolm was a constant source of frustration for London.
While Kristen can't imagine that London would have hurt her sister, she can't say the same about Malcolm.
She had witnessed him being physically violent with her on occasion.
They actually got physical. He had a domestic charge on him between them two.
And if Cecily had finally called off their relationship, she isn't sure what he might be capable of.
Now we're dealing with feelings of rejection, feelings of insecurities.
He's a very emotional person.
She says she wouldn't be surprised if Malcolm is the one who did this to her sister.
When detectives speak to Cecily's brother, Cordero, he agrees.
He confirmed that the relationship between Malcolm and Cecily was very toxic.
He was violent. There were ongoing threats.
They just argue, you know what I mean? Not a healthy relationship at all.
Cecily's brother is also able to shed more light on the time Malcolm was arrested for domestic violence.
He said Malcolm tried to choke Cecily.
He got physical. He busted her car windows out.
At that point, he was the prime suspect.
But before they wrap up the interview, Cordero's cell phone buzzes.
Can I look on my phone?
Yeah. The brother received a text message during his interview.
Look at this.
The messages are from a man named Omar Perez. He was an employee at the collection agency that their family owned.
The dude who used to work for us before our business got shut down.
Have you been bothering you then?
Yeah, when the business shut down, he was really irritated.
He said Omar was furious about not receiving his last check, and he has held a grudge with the family ever since.
And based on his text, It sounds like he may have gotten revenge.
He just sent me this. God doesn't like the ugly. God says vengeance is mine.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Based on statements from Cecily Dickey's family, Woodridge, Illinois police believe that her ex-boyfriend, Malcolm Sanders, could be behind her murder.
Cecily was involved in a love triangle that involved Malcolm Sanders.
Malcolm had a history of criminal behavior, and he'd already tried to choke her once before.
But when Cecily's brother receives a threatening text message during his interview, another suspect is added to their list.
The text was from a disgruntled former employee of the Dickeys family business named Omar Perez.
Basically, the text messages read, "God said vengeance is mine."
Is it a confession?
Investigators take this text message as a big threat.
This was someone they had to look into.
I hate to say this, but we're probably going to have your phone too. There's evidence.
So after wrapping up their interview with Cordero, detectives set their sights on Omar.
It didn't take them too much to find an address on Omar, and as soon as they had one, they brought him in to the station for an interview.
Omar was pretty blunt about his feelings for the Dickey family.
They're all liars and crooks.
He tells detectives that he's worked for the family for about 5 years.
Omar says his employment was cut short when the Dickeys business was raided by the FBI and forced to close.
He claimed it was embezzlement to the tune of $2 to $3 million.
At this point, the Dickey family owed him about 4 weeks of back pay.
I worked for it, and they need to pay me my money.
He did not hide his hatred for the Dickey family at all.
However, when detectives ask about Cecily in particular, Omar doesn't have much to say.
Detectives asked Omar what his relationship was with Cecily, and he admitted that he really didn't have one with her.
I like seeing her around the office, you know?
Did you work close together?
Not really.
Could she simply have been the easiest target for his revenge?
At a certain point, detectives laid their cards on the table. We know about the text you sent Cecily's brother. Did you kill his sister?
Hold up. I had nothing to do with that.
Then what was that text about?
I said I had nothing to do with that. Doesn't mean I didn't feel a little vindicated.
Omar does see how it could have looked a little suspect, but he had an alibi.
According to Omar, he had custody of his kids the entire weekend.
He said that Saturday they went out to eat, then played video games the rest of the night. And then on Sunday, they were at a family party the whole day.
And when detectives follow up with Omar's family, his story checks out.
There was no way that he could have killed Cecily.
With Omar eliminated as a suspect, detectives move on to the next name on their list, Malcolm Sanders.
He had a long history with Cecily, including a domestic violence charge.
Investigators asked Malcolm to come in for an interview.
When he arrives at the station the following morning, Malcolm says he's already heard about what happened to Cecily. But he denies being involved.
He admitted that their relationship was rocky, but he said he was more than 6 hours away in Ohio.
Where are you staying around Ohio? Staying with a girl.
He said that he had spent the entire weekend visiting this long-distance girlfriend.
Go anywhere, do anything. I went to the casino.
Malcolm's alibi was that he was at a casino in Ohio.
He insisted that the surveillance footage would definitely show where he was at the time of the murder.
Detectives' first order of business now becomes tracking down that footage. But before they end the interview, Malcolm says there's something he needs to tell them.
He tells investigators he knows exactly who's responsible for this crime.
I knew about this guy.
Which guy?
London. He's crazy and possessive.
He said that actually Cecily was afraid of him.
He also claims that despite pretending to be the perfect boyfriend, London Luckett is actually a violent criminal.
He knew of London's past records and that he actually served time for a murder case.
He got out or something early.
And through a mutual friend, Malcolm says he had recently learned something alarming about the night Cecily stopped answering her phone.
She was with London on Friday.
If that is true, then he was the last person to see her alive.
Detectives continue to investigate to determine what transpired that night and what happened to Cecily Dickey. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Detectives investigating the murder of Cecily Dickey thought they had her killer in custody, Malcolm Sanders.
They had an ugly history, and Cecily wanted to break things off.
But now Malcolm has pointed the finger at the other man in Cecily's life, London Luckett.
Malcolm definitely suspected that he was very dangerous.
He said the last person who was supposed to be with Cecily was London.
To find out if he's telling the truth, detectives start by looking into his alibi.
Malcolm said he spent majority of Saturday at a Columbus casino. Investigators were able to obtain the security footage.
And when they review it, Malcolm's story holds up.
He was at a casino in Ohio.
There's no way that Malcolm could have killed Cecily.
Which raises another question for the investigation.
With Malcolm's story checking out, could the rest of what Malcolm told them be true?
One of his most surprising claims was that London had served time in prison on murder charges.
After doing a background check, investigators were very shocked at what they found.
London had an extraordinarily checkered history of criminal involvement.
In fact, London's criminal history went back to his juvenile record.
He was involved in gang activity. He had been involved in gun offenses, suspected of firing a weapon at a high school.
He was found responsible for some sort of sex offense and was then required to register as a sex offender.
In 2009, London was actually arrested in connection to a murder.
The victim of the killing was an 18-year-old girl from Kokomo, Indiana, named Abby Rethlake.
London tried to do a drive-by on someone else that was in Abby's car, and instead of hitting the intended target, he ended up killing Abby.
Despite being the suspected triggerman, London struck a deal with the prosecution.
They needed to secure his testimony to secure conviction against other individuals involved in that murder.
London testified and got a lighter sentence for his involvement.
They ended up giving him only 15 years in prison, and then he was released in May of 2015.
Following his release, London returned to his hometown of Chicago.
When London got out of prison, he resumed his relationship with Cecily.
In Cecily's case, she certainly knew of his criminal history. She knew all of these things.
But they tell me what I need to hear. Maybe they're going to change. It shows you never truly know who a person is, no matter how much they try to show you that, oh, you can trust me, you're safe with me.
But based on what they've just learned, detectives believe Cecily was anything but safe with London.
He moved to the top of their suspect list.
But tracking him down proves easier said than done.
London wasn't responding to any phone calls, and even after looking at his normal places, he hadn't been there for a while.
As a bolo is broadcast to law enforcement across the Chicago area, homicide detectives stay focused on building their case.
If London did this, they still needed the evidence to prove it.
And when they receive Cecily's cell phone records, detectives find more proof that Malcolm was telling the truth.
Her text messages confirmed what he said about her spending that Friday night with London.
The records also show that Cecily's phone was turned off or destroyed sometime early Saturday morning.
At a certain point, there's no more pings with Cecily's phone. So they knew her time of death would have been somewhere in the early morning hours of that Saturday.
Which meant detectives were most likely on the right track.
London was the only person known to be with Cecily during the window of when Cecily would have been murdered.
But it's Cecily's bank records that reveal the most damning evidence of all.
Her bank statement showed that someone was using Cecily's debit card at gas stations and convenience stores in Chicago.
Investigators then followed up and collected surveillance video from those stores and those locations where Cecily's card was used. What we saw on the surveillance videos was London, who was using Cecily's debit card.
The suspense, the secrets, and the deceit. Stay with us as we unravel the truth on the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Detectives in Woodridge, Illinois have identified London Luckett in surveillance video that appears to confirm their suspicions that he's responsible for the murder of Cecily Dickey.
The security footage shows London pulling up to a gas station in Cecily's car and then using the stolen card to get money out of the ATM.
There was no good way to explain that.
And now, London's on the run.
Nobody had seen him. He wasn't returning any of their calls, and they couldn't find him.
But detectives pull out all the stops.
Cell phones can be tracked, vehicles can be tracked.
When they ping London's cell phone, they get a hit on the north side of Chicago.
Chicago PD steps into gear.
Well, he's turning left now.
They spotted the car on a side street, and when they pulled it over, London tried to run.
After a brief pursuit, London ends up crashing the car.
Forced to stop, London still refuses to give himself up.
Get out of the car!
Police have to physically remove London from the vehicle. At this point, he's taken back to Chicago Police District.
There, he's booked on charges stemming from the stolen debit card and vehicle. But they want a confession to make the murder charge stick.
When they brought him in for his interview, he denied having anything to do with Cecily's murder.
So what happened? I don't know. Didn't nobody tell me. It's my Cecily.
He gives a very fake and contrived response, as if he's learning it for the first time.
He tells them that the last time he saw her was Saturday morning when he left her apartment, and he claims he doesn't know what happened after he left.
It's clear London isn't going to give up a confession. But in the end, detectives won't need one.
Evidence technicians did have a latent print that was found on one of the Clorox bottles. That latent print matched to being consistent with London Luckett's fingerprint. Additionally, DNA evidence corroborated a profile from Cecily's fingernails that was consistent with DNA profile of London Luckett.
That placed him at the crime scene. It was all the proof they needed.
So before heading to trial, detectives give London one more chance to come clean.
Now investigators are bringing in all the facts and the proof to show London, and eventually he lets them know that he wants to tell his side of the story.
London says that on the night of October 16th, he'd gone over to Cecily's apartment.
Cheers. Cheers.
They were supposed to be having this romantic evening together.
But he said that Cecily kept constantly texting somebody. And when he eventually snatched the phone from her, he realized she'd been texting Malcolm this whole time.
I'm like, man, I know you ain't texting dude when I'm right here. You know what I mean?
In his mind, how dare Cecily text the other guy while she's supposed to be paying attention to him?
I say, okay, look, I know you're still dealing with dude. I ain't up about that. But don't lie to me about it.
Man, how you gonna disrespect me like this?
What do you mean
I'm tired of this, man.
What do you mean?
They started arguing, and it went from a verbal fight to a physical fight very fast.
She grabbed one of the knives out the kitchen. We wrestled, I grabbed that knife out of her hand. So now I'm enraged.
At this point, Cecily is completely trapped.
London, please put down the knife, please. Please.
He stabs her once. And the first stab wasn't enough for the rage he said he was feeling. So he stabbed her again.
He just begins to stab her over and over and over again.
It's about all of this anger and suppressed emotions that were lying dormant, and it was just waiting for an opportunity.
Don't you know, like, when you finally get to that punching bag, you just punch it that one time, you like, you just keep punching it. That's the type of anger that I felt.
We're talking about this physiological release in his body of all of these suppressed emotions.
Even with Cecily on the brink of death, he says he couldn't stop.
London stabs Cecily for the final time in her groin.
I was so mad. I know what she was doing, man. And I shoved the knife in between her legs, man.
He wanted her to feel the pain that he felt.
In his mind, he felt justified.
Even with his taped confession, London stands before a jury to plead his case.
He had already told them that he did it. I know it appears logical that he would not then try to fight the charges in court, but he didn't want to plead guilty.
So in court, London's defense tries to blame Cecily for what happened that night.
The defense was trying to make the case a self-defense case, that Cecily grabbed the knife first, and it was only after Cecily grabbed the knife that London took the knife and used it against her.
When the jury finishes deliberating, it's clear they see London for the killer he is.
They found London guilty on all of the counts that he was charged with.
He's sentenced to life in prison without parole.
There was just a great sense of relief, I felt, because society is far safer with London Luckett locked up.
But the relief will never be enough to ease the pain of losing Cecily.
Justice has been served, but Cecily's life was taken and cut too short. Now a mom and a child are no longer together.
I do hope that Cecily's daughter grows up knowing who her mom was trying to be for her. She was trying to achieve goals and dreams for herself to make her life better for her daughter too.
Detectives diligently unraveled this heartbreaking tragedy. What does it signify when love morphs into something unrecognizable? Driven by unrelenting hope and ambition, Cecily Dickey envisioned a radiant future for herself and her cherished family. Unfortunately, her vibrant life came to a tragic end. A devoted mother, Cecily radiated joy and warmth, touching the hearts of everyone fortunate enough to know her. The memory of Cecily Dickey will forever linger in the hearts of those who adored her. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
This hard-working single mom thought she'd found true love.
They connected so quickly.
He took care of her kids.
It was going to be an amazing future.
Instead, it ended in a horrific crime.
She was on the floor, bound by the hands and legs.
A fun-filled night on the town quickly turns into a heartbreaking mystery when a young woman disappears without a trace. Her devoted and determined sister becomes increasingly worried as calls to her sister go unanswered. What could have transpired that fateful evening? Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.